Welcome, my fellow leaders and listeners. This is Succession, a podcast about the pursuit of success, the art of leadership transitions, and the legacies that shape our future. I'm Kori Grillo, and in each episode, we explore what it means to lead with impact, adapt through change, and create a lasting mark on the world of business. Whether you're navigating a career shift or planning your next big move, you're in the right place. Today, we're joined by Josh Klinge, CEO of Newport Med, a company at the forefront of empowering medical practices through operational and financial excellence. With over 20 years of leadership experience, Josh has spearheaded Newport Med's remarkable growth, including its expansion into international markets. In this episode, we'll explore his strategic vision, the challenges of scaling globally, and how he's shaping the future of healthcare business support systems. Let's dive in. Welcome, Josh. I'm so happy to have you here on Succession.
Thanks, Kori. Really glad to be here.
Glad we got the
Thanks
time.
for having me.
My pleasure. I'm so happy. I know that there's a lot to get to. So I want to give first, just for our audience, a little bit of background on you and Newport Med and all the things in a little bubble. What can you tell us?
So Newport Med, I founded Newport Med 20 years ago, and that was on the tail end of no college background. I just started working for some doctors' offices in a building that I had a full-time job.
And straight from high
with
school?
Doctors. What's
straight
that?
From high school, right in?
Close to it. I think at 20, knowing I wasn't a college guy and I didn't have an interest. And
you want to get right to work.
I was working full-time for doctors after I jumped from a construction job.
Oh.
I was just really good with numbers. I was good at retaining information. I was good at seeing processes for what they were and try to make them better, more efficient.
That's interesting.
And so I helped a couple startup practices, one of whom you may know, Terry Dubrow.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I helped him start his plastics practice
quite big now.
28 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was when he was doing more ER work, a lot of vein and tendon repairs and lacerations. But I helped him start up. He was kind of my first part-time evening gig. And then I got referred to another practice, and it just was enough in the evening that it was interfering with sleep,
right?
Like literally working 20 hours a day with a full-time job. So
wow.
I started a company just based on kind of the need. And
well, what were you doing exactly at that time? Like, what were the things that they needed help with?
It was setting up their system, their scheduling, their billing.
Mm-hmm.
I was their biller.
Okay.
I would help them with documentation. I became a certified coder.
Oh, just
so
because.
I started helping audit their documentation and help them document for the needs of the government to make sure that everything's covered and everything's clarified. And kind of their financial aspect, even I was doing some of their banking and, reconciliation, accounts payable.
Wow.
And that was easy with new startup companies like Terry's company was.
Sure, but you were green. Why did they even trust you? You must have been really selling it, or just like, I'm going to do it. Like, let me go. And they believed you.
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I was really passionate and really good at what I did.
Yeah.
I was really good with numbers and I still have it. I can look at a spreadsheet and pick out a needle out of a haystack of, hey, this is off. It's not coherent with the rest of this.
Right.
So I've always had that. And I think that's what they saw. Kind of maybe Terry called me the Doogie Howser of finance.
If anybody, I think most people will know that reference, but I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's great. I mean, so interesting. It's not like a career that people are like, yes, let me please run into that when I'm 20 years old, like at first into that.
I was just like, this is fun. I love what I'm doing, and I'm growing something that I don't even know what I'm doing as far as owning a business.
Yeah. So when did you pivot from it just being at nights to full time?
So I went to the group of doctors that I worked for, and one of them was young, and he took me under his wing when I first started and really helped me learn the coding, the documentation. I got to watch arthroscopic videos and kind of better understand when they say they're debriding the meniscus. I got to understand what that looked like. Really helped educate me And that is one class in college. I did pass medical terminology.
Hey.
So the one that I did pass, I ended up working in that environment.
Go figure.
But I went to those doctors and basically said, hey, I need a significant raise based on here's my production. And I've kept track of different things that I'm doing that are above and beyond what I've been asked to do, but it's helping drive significant revenue. And here's the revenue.
Right.
So I would like a raise or I'm going to have to start my own business. And they said, well, you're great and good luck and have fun owning a business.
Right. But they still wanted to work with you, I would assume, if you're bringing in that number.
They did not. They had all internal staff. My coming of age was about 12 years later. They came to me desperate, asking for help if my company could take over. And that was kind of, and we did. And they were so dysfunctional that we parted ways in 2 years. It just wasn't working out. And
see, they didn't know a good thing when they had it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's great.
So I started a business company and grew it to I had 20 employees, probably 15 or 20 clients.
Okay. How long did that take to get to that point?
Well, probably 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
And I was doing my own kind of marketing. I hired my father, who was out kind of knocking on doors saying, here's what we do. It's kind of new, if you will. Most doctors had their own staff doing this.
Right.
We worked on a commission basis. So it's like, hey, we don't get paid for vacations and time off and benefits. You just pay us a straight commission based on your revenue and what we help you produce. And I outgrew my experience at about 6 years. And so I started entertaining merge acquisition companies and found a company that was 3 or 4 companies merging together. I was the smallest of them all.
Okay.
And so at about 7 years, I merged with a corporation. I'm sorry, about 6 years. I merged with a corporation and lasted about a year. They didn't do business the way I was. I was really trying to be honest and have integrity. And the profit margins weren't essential to me unless I was performing.
Okay.
And they were cutting costs, cutting people, essential people, in my opinion, to make margins. And the services weren't where I thought they should be. So I only lasted a year in that merge.
Sure.
But one thing I did benefit from, the opportunity that I saw and the gratefulness, the great gratitude that I had in the merge was some really high level businessmen looked at all of our business models, and lo and behold, mine was the model that they're like, this is what we need to follow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that when I merged. I just, hey, I have a good company, and for some reason, these bigger companies are talking to this fledgling guy who's I grew it as much as I could.
Right.
But in that, I just learned, hey, my model is really good. I worked with surgeons. There's a lot of area to improve revenue. There's a lot of area to decrease accounts receivable, days in accounts receivable. Yeah. And so if we do what we do well, my company as well as our clients benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, I jumped ship about a year and a half into that engagement and started from scratch.
How did you jump ship? I mean, I feel like so many people are in that position sometimes and they're like, I don't really want to be here, but I'm here and I don't know any other way to go. I don't know how to get out of this.
They made some decisions that I didn't agree with. I didn't want to compromise my integrity. I was just starting a family and I didn't want any skeletons in my closet. And my business model was partially based on relationships with my clients. And that was face-to-face, meaningful relationships. Absolutely. And the rest takes care of itself when that's happening with transparency and integrity. And so
and a good model.
I jumped ship and I got sued
ouch.
And had an attorney on my new company salary for about a year.
Okay.
And,
painful, but all right.
Painful. And there's a lot of learning that I got to have as far as contracts and business accounting. And so I really look back on that and I'm grateful for what happened. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fun, but it really did help school me and being kind of a savvy businessman. Absolutely. And things to look out for and partners to not have and why merging is not always the answer. And I'm a people guy, so I love the thought of, hey, let's lock arms and do things together. Mm-hmm. But in business, it's not always the best way forward.
Right. So it sounds like you had more of a strategic landscape of something beyond just your business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So then scaling becomes more of a possibility.
Scaling. So I founded Newport Med. It's been this year, November 1st in 2024 was 20 years.
Oh my gosh. Congrats. It's
a milestone. Thank you. In fact, I realized this year when it said 19, I put the wrong date in LinkedIn.
Oh, and
so everyone's happy 19th. I'm like, I looked at 20. The documents. It's actually 20 years. So.
Oh, I hope that got fixed.
It got fixed,
good. Yeah. Okay. And so when did the scaling really become, a part of the fabric of the company?
Well, what I hadn't learned yet is what to look for and how to find the right people. Mm.
I think a lot of people are still doing that.
Too gracious in what I put up with as far as building a business. I'm not building a charity. Hired good people that maybe weren't great employees
right.
And just the learning curve there. So the first 5 to 10 years were just trial and error.
Yeah.
At about 10 years, I hired my first executive
wow.
VPs and COO. And again, that was a tough lesson to learn on looking for the right people.
Yeah.
All the while in the back of my head, we were raising great people to levels that I just didn't understand that's where we were at.
What do you mean? Give me an example.
Well, so we've become a company in the last 10 years we are quicker to promote from within mm-hmm. and then build people up in those positions versus hiring outside people that kind of don't know the heart and soul of Newport Med.
Right.
And then it's hard to teach them based on past experience. They come in sometimes not with an open mind of, hey, we do it this way for a reason.
Right.
If you just hang with us, you'll see why. They come in very closed-minded, this working
their
previous
expertise,
company.
quote unquote. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've evolved in that. More out of, I've learned more in business, and I'm sure you hear this a lot and you've experienced this. I learn more out of my mistakes.
For sure.
Than I do out of my successes.
Yeah, more about ourselves, more about the business as a whole.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And the people. For a while there, I had a nickname, and it was respectful when they used it, but they called me Mayhem.
Oh. Okay.
Do you remember the first Allstate commercial?
Yes, of course. I always laugh at those commercials.
He's driving a drivable lawnmower, shooting the rocks at the window.
Yeah. I love those.
But it was more, I would bring in business after meeting with practices and bring it in, but I wouldn't do all the due diligence needed to make it a successful launch. I'm just like, we got to handle it. We know who we are. And so I set a lot of great people up for very difficult situations, very difficult onboardings.
Catching them and going, here you go. Figure it out.
Yep. Here we go. Let's go.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. And that
so I
changed.
got the nickname Mayhem.
Okay. Because I wouldn't think of you as Mayhem now.
No, I mean, my people's opinion of me really matters. And when I realized, hey, there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
And to truly honor the people that I have and the processes that they're putting in place, I need to come around and I need to learn how to not be Mayhem.
Right.
And part of that is I need to bring people with me.
Right.
That they can ask the pointed questions. They can dig deep in conversation.
Sounds like they're also challenging you and feeling comfortable to do it, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an environment that we have that iron sharpens iron. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's constant here.
That's great. How did you achieve that? Because not many people, a lot of people push that away in most of their career of not wanting those challenging moments, not wanting that pushback, not wanting the contrarian in the room.
Yeah, just being open to it. And I think modeling it from the top, being transparent and, hey, I blew this one, bad decision. Mm-hmm. I know I signed that contract prematurely. I just wanted to get the business in the door.
Right.
But being open to constructive criticism and saying, yeah, I blew that one. I agree with your way now.
Right.
And
humility.
Implement that. Yeah.
Accountability.
Accountability. Yeah.
Yeah, you need a little bit of both, but it does leave room for growth after that. You're not going to just set in your own ways.
Absolutely. And it builds trust. And
Completely.
That's something that nowadays we call us the Newport Med family. And it is because there's a level of trust, whether you're in the mailroom or sitting in my office, there's a level of trust that no idea is too small. No idea is kicked to the curb. Every idea is valid, but let's talk it through.
Yeah. Can I ask about that? Because it's a concept that I think a lot of people say and they don't do well. I know you're doing it well. So I want to extract a little bit from that, because what happens a lot of times I find is that people ask or encourage, like, all ideas, everybody share your ideas and what you want. And then like that goes nowhere. Everybody feels frustrated and unheard. And they weren't really going to do anything with it anyway. They just wanted people to feel included and not be included. So how does that work with, I think, the different levels of leadership, right? When you're thinking of that.
Yeah, so that's something we've evolved in. And I think an area that I've learned, we're not open to suggestions in the way that, hey, we're not just sending out surveys of what makes the office better. And
it makes me furious.
Because everyone has a different opinion, and some are great ideas and some are just impossible. But it's impossible on things that are outside of the scope of what they even need to know or can understand based on the structure of the business, based on the vendors that we use. So that's an area that we will strategically communicate with the right people, normally team leads or people that are managing teams of people. Just about, okay, let's get our heads together. Let's look at some ideas and then let's talk those through. But being honest that can't happen, and here's why.
Right.
And I think high level sharing that stuff, people tend to appreciate, okay, I get it. That idea seemed great until I've actually seen why.
Right. But then you can also foster those communications within the teams individually. So allowing those leaders to take it back to their teams and then figure out what's encouraging or inspiring to their specific team in their way, because everybody does so many different things and has different priorities. Each team is so unique. But if we're treating it as just one big bucket of ideas, because why not? It makes no sense. It's not applicable. So there's some things that might be good kind of to ask for on a team level. And then also that team member who's leading that team also has feedback from you of what's possible and what's not. So there's a level of communication that's not necessarily a direct line, but everybody's informed on some level to support each other, which sounds really helpful.
The area I think that we've been most successful as far as just getting feedback is our pursuit of excellence. And that is the services that we provide to our clients. We're never closed-minded to anyone about how can we better serve this client? How can we make this process more efficient? How can we do something where the results for the client are better, whether that's more revenue, less engagement in processes for them? How do we take work from them and make it part of our process that we're already doing most of anyway?
Right. Improves your product.
Those are areas that I think having an office in Hyderabad, India. So we have the Indian culture. We have an office in Monterrey, Mexico. So we have the Mexican culture. We've had to kind of learn the different areas of building trust and communicating across oceans and on how does each culture garner trust with each other. And I think the delivery is a big deal. And, the Indian culture is a lot more about they want to be engaged with everyone, but they want harmony. And sometimes that means you're not sharing those ideas because it might conflict an idea that Josh shared.
Right.
But over time, we've been able to say we want those ideas, and this is
build
amazing.
The trust to have it. Yeah.
Let's talk this through and implement this. And so our business has and our processes have been built on a lot of the minds of the people that we hire, as far as their boots on the ground.
Yeah.
They see that stuff. And if I'm going to sit in an ivory tower, and I'm so far out of what is efficient nowadays, I will chime in and give my suggestions, but I'm finding more and more as the days go by that they respectfully are like, yeah, that was great 10 years ago, but
right.
it's not like that
Yeah,
anymore.
let us tell you. What? Yeah.
We still don't use fax machines? What?
It sounds like the cultures that you have integrated, in such a beautiful, broad way has really helped you expand what's possible too, which has only strengthened the company to be that diverse.
Yeah, I think our defining moment as a company, defining period of time was during COVID.
Mm.
A lot of practices had to furlough employees. They had to do the same amount or more with less. And so they started turning to us. And I quickly realized COVID was such a weird time for everyone. Fear, anxiety,
Sure.
working from home.
Yeah,
How do we?
isolation.
Yeah. And I just kept chirping like, I'm going to lead us through this. Don't look at me as your leader and grade me or value me on the last 5 years, because we've been very successful. It's been very good.
Right.
And it's easy to lead in those environments. But now that we're pressed and there's
now we got to show up,
and we're, grade me on how we get through this, and look at me and my success based on where we are in a year, 2 years, whenever this ends. And I think people really rallied around that. That as a company, it's easy to say we're a great company when
it's good.
There aren't trials and tribulations. Right. It's the true character, the true passion and work ethic comes out when it's extremely challenging and difficult. And I think that was what built the most trust for us.
Yeah, connection.
And we've grown since then, but we still had 250 employees that I feel like we really locked arms and we really did some amazing things under trial.
Yeah.
And it also defined a lot of new service lines for us with our clients.
That's so interesting.
Because they didn't have employees and we were able to plug in and do things that we had never been asked to do.
Wow. And now,
which are now some of our most successful service lines to practices.
Exactly. So it only helped you grow in just a different way. And you were more malleable, to meet the needs of the time, and then come out in a different time, which is where you always end up. You're always in a different time in the future.
Yep.
So, it almost forecasted you in a way and protected you in a way that really was meaningful to the company. So that's huge. So what does that mean? What's next then for the company? What's next for you?
Well, 2025 is upon us. So
sure is.
We have some amazing opportunities right now that are ours to lose. And I love opportunities that seem so big and scary that you get to see people rise to the occasion. And we're at that right now. And I'm just so proud of the teams. You and I talked earlier. And so I've been through some personal trials that I was out of the office for 4 to 6 weeks, really completely out of the office.
Right.
And just to see, while all these big opportunities are going on, me telling people, I really need to depend on you all to help make these decisions.
Right.
Talk them through, our culture, our values, and we want to serve the client. If those three are in alignment, then make these decisions and I got your back.
Right.
In 4 to 6 weeks when I'm back.
Yeah, for sure. And, from a distance. But that's amazing. They showed up.
The company has really shown its true character outside of, me being the CEO. It took a lot of weight off my shoulders, just that this company is not solely dependent on me and my performance and my engagement.
Right. And that's where
there
the
are
succession
some amazing
lies.
minds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it's so important for people to understand that the succession planning doesn't mean we're always planning for just a nice, planned out, organized exit because we're doing so great, or we're still it doesn't always work like that. It's about the preparation of your company to be able to function during times where the leadership can't be there or be present, which can mean a lot of different things and show up very differently for people. And I've seen it, the stories.
Well, and you and I think originally talked about that. And I would just tell any of the people that are watching this, life can happen.
Sure does. Mm-hmm.
And when it does, and you're not ready, you're solely dependent on the people right behind you.
Right.
And
who is it?
Exactly. And how much have you poured into their success within the company? And how much have you mentored or modeled behaviors or decision making to them? Have I made them just from my office and not included people as
Right.
to why I made that decision or the things that I considered when I was making it. Those are some of the things that I'm really grateful that have happened in the past. People understand why I make certain decisions. Now, they're not in my
Right.
mind, but that's also a benefit. They have a different mind. They can take everything they've learned from me and then add their gifts and talents, and
Right.
that decision can be made more wholly. And I've seen that coming back. I'm 3 weeks back out of the fog of personal trials, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what they have done for the company and the decisions they've made and the work that they've put in. I'm amazed. They're further ahead than what I would have considered, or probably where we would be if I was leading the way.
Now you're hitting on something. So, because I mean, you're humble enough to say that, and you're wise enough to know the advantages of that. But overstaying our welcome, in a company is real. So even if we're not planning for succession, because why would I go anywhere? Or, it's doing great just the way it is, but what could it do without you? What could it do if there's people that are coming up with different perspective, more energy, different insights, like different experiences? What could they add to it that you can't bring to it because you've been doing it all this time?
Right.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, I even talk about it with my kids, but it's kind of the same thing as like, I'm not the gutter anymore on the bowling lanes. I'm not the, all right, I got to take it over and do it right.
Right.
I'm the blow up safety things for the kids now. I just nudge the ball back in
and they stay on track for the most part.
Communicate that, and it's the same here in business as at home. At a certain point, if you're continuing to be that gutter that, hey, if you make it in there, I take over.
Yeah.
You're not building the next generation of people to run shop.
Yeah. And if you want to be, and I guess for anybody listening, if you want to be overseeing multiple companies or having, a wider array of things that you're involved in, even if you're just involved with your family or involved with yourself or traveling, but if you do want a plethora of organizations or opportunities for yourself, you can't do it when you're all consumed and all things rely on you. So moving yourself out in this way that you can still be the bumpers and keep things, moving, but you don't need to be the constant presence and a catch-all for all things, or the person that puts all the fires out. That's not a structure that's going to serve anybody. And when we're evaluating companies, if you're looking to sell, right? Then acquiring a company that only has one person fixed and all things crumble, that's a concern. So you got to think about
Kori,
that.
that's where your expertise is amazing, just as far as you've seen it done different ways, but it is a planning and strategy that needs to happen
all the time.
Yeah. It needs to be a way of life.
Yeah.
Even if it's, hey, I don't have the date on the calendar.
Right.
Again, it could be a curveball of life is thrown at you, and all of that planning and strategy pays for itself tenfold.
Yeah.
When you can, whether it's jumping into a family thing or getting away to go start something new.
Yeah.
That's where it is a strategy. I've kind of stumbled across the strategy as far as just been blessed to have worked in this direction. And I will say this, our COO, Sharon Yokoyama, comes from a very large Fortune 500 company. And when it sold, she did consulting for a while. And being a financial consultant, at times you can be asked to kind of compromise your findings or fudge here. Or, she just didn't like that, and so I hired her at I won't even say it because it's so ridiculously low, but our values aligned and how we did business. And I've called her my business wife since I hired her. It's been over 10 years. I'm embarrassed that I don't know. It's between 10 and 12, but she has kind of been the one nudging me in this strategic direction because she has seen the transactions. She's seen with large companies the kind of fallout when you're not strategically trying to build that next layer in, or who's next in command, right, or who's my backup.
Yeah. You have a strong partner there.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, the values are more valuable to people. A lot of times there's so many people, especially early in careers now, when I'm working with young executives that are really aligned with their passion and their values, but they're not quite sure how that fits in industry.
Right.
Those sacrifices are really very real, of money versus mission, or meaning.
Right.
And it's tricky, but if you stay on the path, if you stay as closely aligned to it as you can, not giving up the things you need, of course, like for daily living activities, like just, reality. But, as long as you know where that North Star is, coming back to it will serve you in the long run.
And you're absolutely right. And we've, for a long time, our mission over money, because mission drives the money.
Right.
We're not running our business off a P&L.
Right.
We're not running it off our balance sheet. I don't want to be focused on that, because you kind of forget the mission.
Right.
The mission is not to sail off into the sunset rich today. Mm-hmm. It's the longevity. It's
sustainability,
the long-term client success that will drive
the legacy.
Referrals, legacy. And so Sharon has been big on focus on the mission, just like you said, the North Star. Let's stay focused on our core values and our mission.
Right.
And that's one thing that I would say to a lot of anyone starting up or new in business is, do not put out a mission statement. Do not put out core values if you're unwilling to live them.
Ugh.
It's worse to have them and not live them than to not have them at all.
I know, but oh my gosh, are we in the thick of it with most companies just saying whatever they want and doing nothing about it? It's like,
absolutely.
What terrible marketing.
Yep.
It's just terrible infrastructure, terrible marketing, terrible organizations.
And terrible employee retention strategy.
God, yes, for sure. So yes, build your foundation on something solid. And honestly, it's tricky. We're going into a whole other podcast right now, but I will say, I think, even if it doesn't seem clear, if it's very simple, just best quality product, or what, meeting the needs of our clients, or ensuring that they're feeling trust, or if it doesn't seem connected to what you actually do day in and day out, I would say let it sit.
Absolutely
just
agree. Yep.
Leave it where it is and watch how everything else forms around that. And you can have the little side notes or the little depictions of what that means for you in your marketing and in your communications as it's evolving. But if that's just a truth, then let it be just a truth. Even if it doesn't seem like it adds up now, just it's true for you. So as long as you build on that, something good will evolve from it. You can't pull things apart from things you've already structured that have no connection to anything, because then you pull everything. You don't just pull, the sentence on your little flag apart. You're pulling apart everything because nobody bought in, and everybody's saying, yeah, there you go. I was right the whole time that this had no legs to begin with. So start on your legs.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. But well, thank you. I mean, there's so much we could cover and so much knowledge you have to share. And I'm so glad that you're always cultivating that within your organization. All the people I know that appreciate you and the work that you do. So hopefully more people will be able to connect with you now, just being here and as you talk to more.
Yeah. I appreciate the time. Look forward to doing some other things.
I know, we'll
some more with
collaborate.
you.
Of course, you reach out to me. I'm here. I'm ready. Let's build good things for good people. That's wonderful. But all right, then we'll talk soon. And before we go, a big thank you to all our listeners for tuning in today. We hope you found some valuable takeaways to help you with your own leadership journey. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to dive deeper into your own succession strategy, or you want to be a guest on the show, reach out and email us at ask@korigrillo.com. Remember, great legacies are built on smart strategies. Keep leading forward, my friends, and we'll talk soon. Bye.